I want to officially welcome all of you who are joining us, our esteemed facilitators who are going to be taking us through this very exciting opportunity for us to get together. We are living in a uniquely challenging times, but with every challenge comes opportunities. And the opportunity, as you can see, this should be something that we should be doing live together in some room somewhere in one part of the world. Unfortunately, we are all over the world, but we can still meet. We can still share our thoughts. And the discussion today about financial management and relationship management is something that I'm personally very excited about. As you probably have already seen, my name is James Olweny. I'm from Uganda, living in the UK at the moment. I've been here for the last 30 years plus. I'm the founder of Dilabon Business Consulting. Dilabon Business Consulting. Just bear with me. If you're not contributing and speaking, if we can mute so that everything that we're saying can be heard by everybody, it would be really good. As part of the I can see a lot of people are joining. If you can mute as you join, so that we can keep the interference as low as possible. So, as I was saying, I'm the founder of Dilabon Business Consulting. We are a growth enabler, first and foremost, a business development organization, but we work both with the public sector, but also the private sector. We are very interested in personal and developmental and organizational growth, which is why I'm most excited to be joining this eclectic coming together of some of the best minds, young minds in Africa at the moment. As I've already mentioned, we are joined by several facilitators who are going to take us through the issues of financial management, our relationship with finances, but also our general relationship. Can I ask again, when you're joining, if you can mute as you join? So when you have a question later on, we can unmute you and you can join in, just to make sure everybody is capable of listening to what each of our participants are saying. So we work to develop both organizations, but also individuals. And the topic that we're talking about today, I'm particularly interested in. Well, you need to ask yourself this, from my perspective, what is your relationship like with your finances? It may sound that finance and relationship, personal relationships, romantic relationships are very far different, but the interlink between the two is what we want to explore today. The interlink between financial management and what finance can play in personal relationships that we have with our partners. That are some of the issues we're going to be discussing. I'm very excited to say we have some very great technical colleagues who are going to be sharing their researches, their knowledge, their know-how, so we can take that with us. But the link between relationship in today's world, where the global village is become smaller and it's still coming smaller, what are our relationships like, both with our finances, but also the kind of relationships we form? Do we form a relationship with the girl next door? Do we go out to the global village and find a relationship with someone at the far ends of the world? We will hear later, our speakers will talk about the types of relationships that you can have in your personal relationship, but also our finances can play key factor in our relationships, in our personal relationship. You will have a relationship with your finances. That's how you generate finances, how you make money, how you save your money, how you spend your money. But then if you come into a relationship, what does the finance have in terms of power play? Do you have more power when you have finances, when you're the person who earns, when you're the breadwinner? How does that challenge your relationships? And we will talk about all of that challenges. Obviously, we live in a pandemic world. Everybody wants connectivity. Human connection is key to any well-being, and we will hear brief discussions about wellness and mental health and how that is also affecting our relationships. But the relationship between finance and power play, we know that in this world, some very young relationships taking place where some old man is in another corner of the world or some old woman is in another corner of the world, forms a relationship with someone else in a completely different part of the world. And that relationship can flourish for a few years. But then is there honesty, complete openness in that relationship? We'll talk about some of those key issues as well. We have amongst us, if I can start by introducing one of our facilitators. What we will do today is, as we go along, I will introduce each facilitator with an eyebrow introduction, and then they'll give you a full introduction how they came to be here. Any questions that you may have, please use the chat box, send it into us. We will do our best to make sure we cover as much of your questions to the facilitators as possible during the question and answer session towards the end. But if there's anything that I can try and use as we go along, we'll also do that. So welcome, everybody. I would like to introduce you to Mr. Job Lazarus Okello. He's an inspirational speaker of renowned personality. He's well known globally for his participation in this kind of discussion forums. Is well versed in a lot of the issues I've just mentioned. If you can give us a brief introduction, minute introduction, and just take us through some of the key points that you want us to bear in mind as we go through today. Welcome, Mr. Lazarus.
Thank you very much, James. I welcome everyone to this wonderful webinar. And I believe at the end, everybody will be different. This is one of the webinars you will live to remember in your life. I must caution you that whatever you will learn from this webinar will do you no good if you don't apply it. So many people attend so many conferences, webinars, but they don't apply what they learn from those events. In the end, their lives remain the same. May this not happen to you. My name is Job Lazarus Okello. I am a master's student at Egypt, Japan University of Science and Technology in Alexandria. I am a researcher, a speaker, author, and a Pan-Africanist. I am also the principal guest on the show Let's Build Africa of Piana TV of Ghana. I welcome you all to this wonderful webinar, and I believe we shall have a good time. Thank you very much.
I think immediately the takeaway from Mr. Lazarus there is about not just learning something today, but in application. Theory alone is good. It's good to always have knowledge, but the application is key. I think as our first speaker is also Mr. Lazarus, I want you to now take 5 minutes or so and take us through the discussion that you want us to take on board before we then go on to introduce our first facilitator to do our first presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Once again, I welcome everybody to this wonderful session. I want to begin with a question. What do you really want in your life? What are you looking for? What do you wake up every day and go after? What are the things that you really want to achieve? Ever since the beginning of the world, there's never been anyone who plans to fail. Everybody wants to succeed in life, but not everyone pays the price to succeed. That's why not everyone makes it in life, in any endeavor. Today, I want you to examine your life critically and analytically. The great Greek philosopher Socrates once taught that the unexamined life is not worth living. I want you to reflect on your life. What do you want in your life? In your career, in your education, in your marriage, in your relationships, in every aspect of life. What do you want? If you do not know what you want, then you will be exploited. And how can you get what you do not know? We live in a world in which so many people don't understand what they want. So they are living their lives aimlessly. That's why many people are frustrated, because they don't understand what they are after. The great speaker, Rob Liano, once wrote that if you don't know what you want, you will never find it. If you don't know what you deserve, you will always settle for less. You will wander aimlessly, uncomfortably, numbed in your comfort zone, wondering how life has ended up here. The second thing I want you to focus on is, where are you in life right now? Not many people understand the position they occupy in life. Not many people know where they are in life, so they don't even know what to do where they are. Where are you going with your life? What is your vision? Not many people have a clear picture of where they're going with their lives. And if you don't have a vision for your life, then your life is like a football match being played on a pitch that has no goal post. No player can ever score on a pitch that has no goal post. In the same way, without a vision for your life, you cannot live a life of purpose. What is your altitude? At what height are you living? It is widely said that your attitude determines your altitude. Now, not many people understand the altitude they're operating from. If you want to know where you are in life, you've got to check the people around you, the people in your innermost cycle. Those are the people you are flying at the same level with. You're at the same altitude with those people. Now, if you want to change your altitude, then you have to check the kind of people in your innermost cycle. The most important question I want you to answer is this: what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why do you exist? Why do you wake up every morning and go after something? The most important question ever asked in life is why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you want what you want? If you don't understand the why, then you will settle for what you're not supposed to do. In life, everyone is looking for solutions to their problems. Everyone. I've never met anyone who is not after solutions to their problems. That means if you can provide solutions to the problems, then you can thrive in any setting. Now the question is, what solutions are you providing to what problems? Because if you don't provide any solution to any problem, then you're not relevant to humanity. Your relevance to humanity depends on the solutions you provide to the problems people face. You provide solutions in two ways: through products or services. And that's how people make money in this world. If you can create products and services that can solve problems, you will always make money and survive in any setting. Because everyone is after solutions to their problems. This is something not many people understand. Now, when you understand that everybody wants to get solutions to their problems, then you have to identify problems that you can solve with your potential, with your ability, with your gifts and talents. The question is, what problems are you solving? How relevant are you to humanity?
That's very good.
For you to be able to make great contributions to humanity, you must have proper knowledge. It is wise to seek knowledge from the day you are born to the day you die. Everyone in life.
I apologize, Lazarus, if you can bring that to a wrap.
And your importance to humanity depends on how much value you add to humanity. Therefore, it is important to provide tangible solutions to the problems people are facing in life. I want to conclude with a statement made by one of the wisest men who ever lived. King Solomon wrote that whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 10, in the Bible. Finally, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote that if a man can write a better book, or preach a better sermon, or make a better mousetrap than his neighbors, though he builds his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to his door. How good are you in what you do? No one will ignore you as long as you are good at what you do. How do you do what you do? Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Before you run away and before I let you go, Mr. Lazarus, I wanted to make this, as you said earlier on today, when we just started, it's not just about what we learn and take away. The takeaway will come and we will all be able to write some stuff down, take it home with us. Share with us, in your own personal experiences, what has been your drive? What is your why? Why are you who you are and what you're doing at the moment?
Well, one of the most important things I do with my life every day is transforming lives with my life. So when I get an opportunity to help someone become better, it moves me, and I seize that opportunity. So I live to touch lives with my life. Just like the great Mother Teresa once said, a life not lived for others is not a life well lived. Every morning I wake up and look for opportunity to touch lives with my life. I don't turn down any opportunity to help someone in any way, because that's where my relevance is to humanity. So I live to transform lives with my life. That's my why.
Fantastic. I think if we were not inspired, I'm excited already by just the simple question, why? Why? As we go through this entire session, keep asking yourself your why. Not just your why. Why are you here in this session? Why have you joined this session? What are we doing here? Why are we holding this event at all? And why we must introduce our first facilitator, Ms. Matamela. Now, we mentioned before the importance of what Lazarus has just talked us through. If you look at all the issues which is touched on about your altitude, about, if I can surmise, I hope it's correct, that the people you surround yourself with, those are your relationships, that's your bubble. If you put yourself with the right people at the right time in the right places, you're likely to feed off them and achieve better. So how do we manage that kind of relationship and all the other relationships that we form in our lives? If I can bring on Ms. Matamela, welcome. I know you are going to take us through this very issue and the different types of relationships we have. Please give us a 1 minute or so introduction of why you're here, who you are, since the topic is now why. We must keep asking that question as we go along to make sure this is relevant to everything that we're doing, but also then introduce the topic that you'll be discussing with us. And if we can, I know we're running slightly late, but I think some of the topics we're going to be covering are so exciting. If you guys can just bear with, and we'll try and wrap things up as quick as we can, but I want to make sure we cover as much as we can as well. So I appreciate your time. Ms. Matamela, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. My name is Matamela Makongoza. I'm a PhD student and a researcher from University of the Witwatersrand. So firstly, let me start by answering the question, why am I here? The reason why I'm here is because I would like to empower not just young people, but to empower everyone with the information that I'm going to share. Although my my focus is to empower young people, especially young women, because we all know that young women are the one who bear a lot of griefs, although of course without forgetting the young men. So, and also again, like what Jane said, that we are going to sort of like interlink intimate partner violence or gender-based violence with the financial aspect of it, looking at how can young people who are in a relationship go on and enjoy their relationship without financial struggles, and those who are unable to support themselves financially, what can they also do, because we all know that poverty also plays a huge role when it comes to relationship, depending on the context and also depending on the background of the young people. So if I may ask James to share my slides, because I'm unable to share my screen.
Okay, I think Anne is with us. Anne should be able to do that. Anne, have you got the slides? Okay, can I suggest, while we wait, and if there's a chance that Anne may be able to do this, if you can use your own screen, just go through the presentation that as you have it, and we will tune in and listen. In the meantime, we will try and find a way to get your presentation to share on screen as soon as possible. Failing that, I will make sure that every participant has a copy of the presentation once you've gone through it. So please try and persevere and just go through the presentation as best you can. I told you we're going to have challenges, but it's a good challenge. So let's accept it, embrace it, and power on.
Okay, James, thank you so much. I'll just go on and with my presentation. The focus of my presentation is mostly about intimate relationship and end management. That's what this presentation will be about. So, so I'll be touching on intimate, what is intimate relationship, different types of relationship that these young people engaged, and also touching on specifically cohabitation. And the reason why I also include cohabitation is that cohabitation is one of the relationships where we as researchers, we have realized that there is a lot of IPV happening, and which also most likely to end up in intimate femicide. So yeah, and also sexual harassment is going to be part of the presentation, and also I'm going to also touch on or flag out the red flags in intimate relationship, which young women can also spot out when they are in that relationship. So I'll start with intimate relationship. So intimate relationship is an interpersonal relationship that involves physical or emotional intimacy. And this type of relationship, most of the time it is commonly said to be a sexual relationship. And it may also be a non-sexual relationship. Like for example, if you are you can be in an intimate relationship with your family, friends, and also in some sort of groups where you have common values and goals, where you discuss certain issues. And this intimate relationship, it is often characterized by attitude of mutual trust. There should be caring, and there should be acceptance in that type of relationship. And also to touch on the intimacy, just to elaborate on what intimacy involves. So intimacy involves the feeling of being in a close personal association and belonging together. So it's the same thing where now people are sort of like being in a mutual trust, caring, and acceptance. And it can also be in a form of family, friends, or maybe you might also be in some sort of a group, as I said before. So there are different types of relationship that young women, or yes, as I said, that I'll focus mostly on young women because we are trying to empower young women who are in higher education. So there are different types of relationship that researcher has mentioned. So the first one is main partner relationship. It's when a young man or young woman has a romantic sexual relationship with a steady partner. So this is the main partner. We also have a casual partner. Casual partner is a type of relationship which focuses mostly on a sexual aspect of it. And in that instance, which it is not considered a typical boyfriend or girlfriend romantic relationship or considered as the primary partner. This type of relationship, it is mostly based on physical attraction and transactions. So there are different ways in which, or different words that are used in casual partners. Words such as booty calls, friends with benefits, and hookups. So these are the types of casual partner relationship that young people also engaged in. And then we also have what we call a secret relationship. In South Africa, we call it, in isiZulu, we call it makwapeni. So this means that when you are a secret partner, you are not supposed to show off. So you need to remain behind, like inside the armpit. That's why they call it makwapeni. You need to remain inside your partner's armpit so that no one should know about it. So I also had to do some research where I also find out what does a secret relationship in other languages mean. Like in Uganda, they call it a side dish or a panado. So secret relationship may also include multiple partners, and in most cases, the other partners are usually unknown to the main partner. So you find that, for example, there is a gentleman who's dating probably 2 or 3 young women. So you find that there is a main partner, but then there are other 2 partners that he's involved with. But those other the main partner is not aware that there are other 2 partners within that relationship. So we also have a concurrency kind of relationship, which also engaged in a new sexual relationship without ending the previous sexual relationship, where we find that it can also include the main partner, it can also include the secret relationship, it can also include the casual relationship. So this type of relationship, it only focuses on the sexual aspect of the relationship. So cohabitation is very much important especially in young women, not only young women, but what research is showing is that there are more young people are cohabiting. Like I said that roughly like Brown Rich says that young people between the ages of 15 and 34 are most likely to cohabit. And it depends on the context. Research also says that there are young women or young people who are in a cohabiting relationship as early as 10 years old, depending on the context, depending on what is happening in that particular young woman's lives. And again, in terms of the explanation of cohabitation, it says that it's an intimate relationship between 2 people of the same or opposite sex who live together without either concluding a marriage or civil union. As Africans, we all know that an acceptable, what they call an acceptable kind of relationship, it's an intimate relationship where it is within a marriage context. So if as a young people you are dating and your parents don't know about it, so that kind of relationship, that's why most of the time young people, when they date, you find that parents don't know about it. So it's still a hidden relationship. So cohabitation, research also shows that it increases the likelihood of intimate femicide, because in that kind of relationship, that particular young woman will stay with the boyfriend or a spouse without paying any lobola or any dowry. So in that instances, that particular young woman or that particular man will carry on with the duties as if he or she is married. But then that kind of relationship is not acceptable in the society. Hence, we find that most young women who engage in cohabiting relationships, they don't like to talk about it. They hide it because they know it's not acceptable. Parents won't accept it and the community won't accept it. And hence now, when young women experience any violence, they are likely to silence what is happening because they know that they won't, even if they say something or they go and report the police station, it is not likely that they will get help. So in terms of intimate partner violence, so this is a type of violence perpetrated either by a current or a former intimate partner. So the reason why there is what we call a former intimate relationship is because in most instances, even though people have boyfriend and girlfriend who were in a relationship, one break up with the other one, especially most of the time it's a woman who likes to break up with the man. You find that in most cases, when that young woman tries to break up with the relationship, or even if they have already left the relationship, that particular partner will follow them. That's why it is also considered, they will follow them and try to harm them in whatever way. That's why it is also considered as an intimate partner violence. So there are few studies that also report that women also become perpetrators within that particular relationship. Although, as I said before, that the focus of this presentation is about trying to also make young women to be aware that there are types of violence that are happening out there, and they should be aware that if they are in that particular type of violence, they need to know how to react and where to go. So there are forms of violence, like physical violence. We all know about it. This is an act of physical aggression with the intention to cause harm. It can include slaps, punches, kicks, assault with a woman, beating, and homicide. This is a form of physical violence. So in sexual violence, these are unwanted or forceful sexual acts, including sexual coercion, regardless of the next person's relationship. So research also shows that with young people's relationships, we find that most of these young people, they engaged in sexual activities in a coerced manner. They are being coerced, most of the time they are being coerced by their partner to engage in sexual activities while that particular young woman is not ready to get in a relationship, because they also sometimes they do that because they want to prove to the partner that I love you. So in order for them to love their boyfriend, they will say, okay, fine, I will engage in this type of sexual activity as a way to show him that they love their partner. So sexual violence can also include sexual domination, humiliation, and authority towards someone who cannot defend themselves. So sexual harassment is also an important aspect that I thought that I should also include, because it happens in different contexts, in different spaces, but mostly in higher learning. It's some of the things that young people go through, especially young women.
But I'm now not seeing the speaker.
So
sorry,
sexual
go on.
harassment. Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Matamela. I think we have a question, and sorry, what were you saying? Okay, carry on, Ms. Matamela. Apologies.
Okay. So sexual harassment in higher education is one of the aspects that needs to be addressed. And of course, in different universities, there are different policies they try to address sexual harassment, and also to let young women, because in higher learning, you find that they are mostly the victims of mostly what is happening in higher learning. So it says that when somebody asks questions or show you sexy or rude pictures that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's sexual harassment. When somebody touches you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's sexual harassment. When somebody gives you something, for example, like better results or admission to school in return for sex, those are some of the examples that you need to identify that this is a sexual harassment and you need to report it. When somebody talks to you into having sex with them or forces you to have sex, that is rape. You need to also report it. And also, when somebody talks you into or forces you to have sex with objects such as putting a finger or in a genital area, that is another form of sexual harassment that needs to also be addressed. So we also have, nowadays, most of our relationships are online due to the pandemic. We also have the cyberspaces sexual harassment. So in this instance, the perpetrator may hack into the victim's computer and try to follow a victim digitally. And mostly it happens in chat rooms and into different forums. And you find that they can also be verbal uses of threats, offensive sexual messages, gender humiliation, comments, requests for sexual favors, comments about your attire, use of nicknames, and intimidation. Also, these types of examples of sexual harassment that I talked about, it can also happen in a face-to-face situation where, when you are in higher learning or wherever you are, somebody just stops you and try to and make funny comments and or maybe they're trying to touch you, or maybe they're trying to speak with you and you are not interested in them. So these are some of the examples that can be seen as examples of sexual harassment. And false accusation, of course, it also forms part of sexual harassment because it can form a pressure of some sort. So these are some of the things that falls under sexual harassment. So in terms of emotional violence, which is also under forms of violence, any verbal abuse, like for example, being humiliated in front of others, being insulted, being intimidated by a form of yelling and smashing of things and threatening to hurt someone. So these are also the forms of emotional violence that as young people we need to be aware of. And it also includes some form of physical harassment with the intention to hurt the partner. Because in a conflict kind of situation, especially an intimate relationship, it's not only going to be a verbal form of intimidation, but also you might find that you might also get slapped, kicked in the process. So in terms of financial violence, so here the perpetrator withholds money, like the basic necessities that as a partner in that particular relationship you need. You find that now he withholds those basic necessities. They prevent you. You become a victim in the sense that you are even unable to seek for jobs because you find that you might not be able to even go out of the house because they want to try and exert control as much as they can. So in terms of, just to explain further, so intimate partner violence is a form of gender-based violence that affects young women disproportionately as victims and young men as perpetrators. Like I said before, it's not only that young men can be perpetrators, they can also be a victim in that particular relationship. Yeah, and then gender-based violence, does not necessarily only happen in intimate relationship. It could happen anywhere, like in workspaces. Gender-based violence can also happen. And the reason why researchers and other health care workers and policymakers are also interested in addressing intimate partner violence is because intimate partner violence affects the health of a woman or of a man. Like, for example, I give an example in relation to women. Women experience depression, suicide attempts, anxiety disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder as the result of being in a violent relationship. And most of the time, you might find that women who go through this, women who are in a violent relationship, most of the time, they don't even realize that maybe they are depressed because of the violence nature of violence that is happening in that particular relationship. And it is very much also important that we also talk about the relationship between young people and their parents. It's very much important that parents becomes their children's friends, because research also shows that in most of the time when there is no father figure in that particular household, young women might also go and engage in sexual behavior because they long for love, they long for support from their parents, and they find that they're unable to get it. So what happened is they go out, they engage in intimate relationship as early as 10 years old. Sometimes it depends on the context. And then that's where now we also find teenage pregnancy being very high. And we also find, for example, young women engaging in age-disparate relationship, being engaged in having sugar daddies. And also, of course, there are also, what I've also picked up recently, that there is what they call upkeep, where women also take an advantage of men. So where you find that young women get engaged in a particular relationship because of financial reasons. There are certain things that they need, which their parents are unable to provide. So they end up sort of like using men, they sort of like engage with men for their own financial benefit. And it's also important that we also be aware that sometimes the situation within a particular household might drive parents to let their children, especially the young women, to engage in early childhood marriages, because they are trying to move away, or they're trying to make sure that the poverty situation is lessened. Because immediately when they take their girl child for marriage at an early age, obviously they will be able to gain something. So in terms of lobola or dowry. So it's very much important that as parents, we are always in communication with our young people. We know where they are, what is happening with them, because it's very much important, because it will also lessen in terms of them engaging in relationship that they were not supposed to engage in the first place, if they are receiving the love and support from the parents. I thought I should also highlight that. So, and it's also,
Ms. Matamela, apologies for the interruption. I know the content you're going through is of very much importance to our audience. I wanted to try and guide us in the minutes we have left for you to speak, so to bring some of the more key issues you've touched on to probably give us some more elaboration and put some meat on the bone from your experience. You've talked about the need for parental friendship, a sort of relationship between the parent and the child, to ensure there's a comfortness, the ability to discuss issues, so you don't fall into the wrong environment and start looking out for someone who can take your parents' state. You also mentioned something very interesting, which I want you to elaborate on as you talk about the relationship between or the interlink between relationships that we have, but also financial dependency. You mentioned a primary partner in your discussion. I want you to elaborate on what a primary partner is. And you mentioned also some of the most dangerous words in the English language, I love you, which tends to bring this sort of idea that you need me and I'm going to be around with you. Can you also talk about that in the minutes we have, just so we get some context for our audience in your very crucial presentation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, James. Yeah, it's when we talk about, because most of the time when young people engage in a relationship, when I'll just give an example, when a young man approaches when a young man approaches a young woman, most of the time when that particular person comes in, the first thing that they will utter is, I love you. I want you to be my girlfriend. So in that moment when that is happening, so what happens is a young woman, what she hears is, okay, fine, this person loves me. So which means I am the main partner. So, and that particular young woman, she won't even think that maybe the partner will also maybe cheat on her in any way, because that young man came and said, I love you. So being a main partner sometimes can also be you might even end up being in a risky situation, especially if that particular young man goes and finds another partner. That's when now we end up, young women end up being pregnant, or maybe being exposed to different STIs. And also in that type of relationship, we also find that as a young woman will be the provider. In some instances, young men also like to be the provider of the relationship, where they will also spoil their partners. And in that, this is what are some of the things that might, in return, might make young people not to say anything, or silence intimate partner violence when it happens. Because remember, like I said, it depends on the context. If as a young woman, I come from a poor family, I come from a poor background, and I find this young man or this gentleman who's providing me with what I need, which is financial support, and whatever material that I need. So I end up being a victim in that particular relationship, and it won't be easy for that particular young women to say anything, because now they are being supported in all the directions, because it's something that they won't be able to get at home. So I think it's very much important that young women are aware of what is happening, and also lastly, just to also as a takeaway point, young people, especially young women, they need to be aware that immediately when they see that particular young man being possessive or maybe trying to own them, they need to, that's a red flag. Excessive jealousness in that particular relationship, it's a red flag. When that particular young man is insecure, like for example, if you as a young woman, you want to go out and have fun and they try to control you, that are some of the red flags that as young people we need to be aware of. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. Very, very insightful information that you've shared with us. I wonder, as a final point before I let you go and we move on to our next speaker, you mentioned violence several times, but also you mentioned the idea that young people, especially young women, of course, let's not fall into a trap here where I know your focus is young women, but the victims can be both, where a man falls victim by being led by a young woman to believe that the word "I love you" means something to the man as well, where they're then led into an environment where they actually don't have a relationship. The young woman only wants financial security. I wonder if you can share with us in terms of cohabiting and keeping it a secret. In your travels around Africa, is that something which is common between the South African community and other countries that you may have visited, or is that purely something that you've seen in regional aspects? That I think is also crucial.
Can you come again, James?
I say, is that something which is based purely on the cultural behaviors in South Africa, where people keep young relationships a secret, or is that something which is common throughout your travels and experiences in Africa or elsewhere that you've been?
Okay, I will thank you so much, James. I will respond in that question in terms of, because I am also a researcher, so I'll respond from a research perspective. So research shows that cohabitation, especially among young people, the reason why they hide it is because culturally it's something that is not acceptable. So hence they immediately, when they start dating and they start negotiating to sit together without parents knowing, that's when now they engage in cohabitation, and that's when now they try by all means to hide it, because cultural is not acceptable. The only relationship that is cultural acceptable, especially from the African context, it's marriage. Any other relationship that goes on without parents knowing, it becomes a hidden relationship. Hence, we find that women or young people who are in a cohabiting relationship, when violence happens, they silence it, because they know that immediately I go and report the police station that my partner is beating me, the first question might be, is he your husband? Are you married? Immediately when you said no, then they'll tell you no, go and sort it out. Or maybe no, we can't get involved because you guys are not married. So why is this kind of relationship happening? So cohabitation puts young people at risk. That's why we have femicide, intimate femicide. This is what research is saying.
Okay, that's very good. I know one aspect which I personally wanted to hear you just as a final point elaborate on, or just touch on within a minute. You mentioned about the issue of coercion in a relationship where there's a young woman who, because the man is providing them with financial and material support, is coerced into a sexual relationship that they're not ready for. I'm wondering, is this because in terms of the values that the young person carries as a young woman, they don't respect themselves enough they don't have the values from their parents that you should not go into a sexual relationship before marriage? Is it a socio-economic drive? Is why are the young women putting themselves in a situation where they're receiving material and financial help from a man who then feels that they're in an intimate relationship, and in an intimate relationship, obviously the intimacy is part of a very important part of being in an intimate relationship. Is there something there that you found in your research that can shed some light, whether it's values, parental guidance, or is it just a drive within our society? If you can just wrap up with that, I appreciate it as well.
Okay. So in terms of, when I said that in most of the time, young women become coerced to engage in sexual relationship. It can be because maybe that particular young woman comes from a poor background. And sometimes it's because of lack of knowledge, where you find that if there is no relationship between parents, and where parents can sit with young women or young men and guide them properly and be honest. I think the other thing is that parents like to beat by the bush, that they don't want to be honest about when they talk about sexual relationship. It is seen as something that is taboo, that is not supposed to be engaged with young women. And not forgetting that these young women or young people are engaging in intimate relationships. So you find that the fact that parents are not communicating with them, and also the fact that financial background might also be another issue, where now young women just have sex with these older men or the same age relationship, but then it's in a way to say, okay, fine, you are supporting me financially. In return, this is what I'll also do. I'll sleep with you, I'll have sex with you because you are supporting me. It's like they feel like they are obliged to engage themselves in sexual activity, even though they are not ready. You are muted, James. You are muted.
Oh, apologies. Thank you very much for that. I was speaking to myself. I told you we'd have challenges. You have to bear in mind, we're all going to experience this at different times. I was just saying thank you very much for that, for wrapping it up for us. I know you've touched on a lot of issues here, and the takeaway points, if we can all realize in our relationships, whether ask yourself questions, is finance playing a big part in your relationship with your partner, if they're perhaps younger than you? It's very common in nature, especially in our culture in Africa, that the man is quite always almost older than the woman, whether a young woman in the sense that you're talking about, or just young in age. That normally seems to be the case. But we do have a situation where violence is something that's recognized now internationally, and women all over the world are working to try and curb the issue of domestic violence or any relationship violence between partners. Our next speaker, thank you very much, from South Africa, Ms. Matamela. We are going back to Uganda and speaking to Ms. Linneti, who is going to share with us some background into a brief presentation. But before you do that, Linneti, listening to Ms. Matamela's presentation and the issues that she's covered, are any of those issues which she's touched on, whether it's financial dependence, power play between the relationship, and cohabiting attitudes between the cultures where you have to hide your relationship, or maybe even violence in relationship, did any of these issues resonate with you? And are you able to maybe touch on anything that resonates with you before you go on and do your presentation?
Well, thank you so much, moderator. I'm Kirungi Linneti. I'm the founder and executive director of Okello Rescue Mission. I'm also an accident attack survivor. For the question you've asked, like in relationship to my story, I've been in the field of, I've been working with the youth who are mainly men and women, but at a young age. And I've been using my personal experience to tell these people that not every relationship a person enters into is a healthy relationship. There are some types of relationships which we involve in, and at the end of the day, because we don't know what are some of the red lights, what are some of these flags, the red flags, so people end up becoming victims without knowing. Like I think you've heard Matamela what she has said. At times, as young girls and boys, we fall in love, and when we fall in love, we try to make it a secret between us and maybe between me and the boyfriend. We don't try to inform our parents or our friends about it, because at times you find if at all you've shared it with your parents, they will guide you. They will try to ask you how is everything, how is this and this, but because you've tried to make it a secret, you suffer alone. And at the end of the day, when you become a victim, that's when they come to know that things have not been moving well with you. Personally, I will try to share my personal life experience as an acid attack survivor. My story goes like this. Of course, I was a young person in my youthful age. I think I was around 19 years old. I was 20 years. I fell in love with this kind of person I thought I would spend the rest of my life with, thinking he was the loving person and had all the good intentions for me. The relationship, of course, at the start was very healthy, and of course, everything was moving on well until when I reached time, I had my vacation. Like, why now I was very idle. Like when you're idle, you're able to see. That's when you see, like, people during the lockdown have been able to note some weird behaviors between them. So during that time, I started to realize that this person was more controlling. He wanted to control my life. Later on, he started stalking me, like following me wherever I was going. He tried to track my phones and also diverting all my calls. Of course, I tried to talk about it. He refused to stop that kind of behavior. Later on, I got a job. The same person stopped me from working. He told me, I cannot allow you to work in a male-dominated company because this man will take you, which means he was insecure as a person. So as like me, as Linneti, I know I try. I'm always bold enough. I want to fight for my right. If I told I've gone to school, you expect me to go and work. I told him I have to go and work. So when I went there, of course, he continued his behaviors of trying to send messages, threatening messages to everyone I was working with, that I was his wife and no one should come to wherever I am, that he was going to do whatever it takes for us to be together and not everyone like to come to where I was. Of course, like I was still a bit young, like what you've heard from Matamela times, we don't know how these types of the kind of relationship you're in. So when I joined the university, the same thing happened. He continued, of course, following me up. I realized I was living a kind of life where the relationship was controlling me. I was not controlling myself. So everything was being controlled by a man. Time reached, of course, whereby the more you try to move maybe in different parts, you realize that you need this kind of life. So I told him I need a life where I am able to control my life. Of course, he said, now the only solution he gave me was to get married to him and we start staying together. I told him I was just a student because I remember I was just a young student in my first year at the university. I told him there's no way I can start staying with you when I'm just in my first year. Of course, now he started bringing other excuses that maybe I can go and join the parents. Then I told him, no, I'm not going to join the parents because it's like it will be the same thing that I will be married. I will be somewhere, not at my parents' home. So I gave him a condition of meeting my parents, informing them about his intentions, and of course he failed to fulfill because we were all students. And of course, as a person, I had my own principle. I wanted to first finish my studies, then marriage would come after. This is something he was not happy with. So everything worsened from that point when I told him no, that I will not get married to you if at all you're not ready to meet my people. I remember now he started following me up to the university because we were studying in different universities. The next day, I found him around. He tried, of course, he first called me to go to his home and we talk. I refused. I refused because it was still time for examination. Then the next day came. Was like, okay, you said you will not come because you're in exams. But I've checked the timetable. He's telling you you're supposed to have your paper the next day. Why did you refuse to come? And of course, we all know once this examination period, doesn't matter whether when or at what time, but it's examination period. So I told him I will not come to your home because I'm in this period. So now from there, we grabbed my hand. And I saw this person now changing. He said, now you're just playing on my head. You're not telling the truth. I told him, to me, examination period is the same as telling him in a paper because I need time to concentrate. So I saw now the person changing. He tried to slap me. I grabbed his hand. Then later on, I told him I've grown up from a family where I've never seen people fighting each other, especially old people. And now for us, we're just young people dating each other. Now for you trying to fight me or to beat me up, what is going to happen tomorrow after us getting married? It means that this is just a warning sign that things are not going to work out. They were expecting them to work out. So I told him, I think let's end this. If at all we are meant to be, we'll be. If we are not meant to be, we are not supposed to force things. Then that's when I started to see the real person I was in love with. He told me, Linneti, if it means killing you, I will kill you. If it means killing the person who tried to come between the two of us, I will do that. Of course, I thought he was joking because maybe he was annoyed. I didn't know that it was more serious. Then the next day, of course, that day, I had a discussion. After the discussion now, things changed. I don't know whatever happened. I became sick, very sick. My friends told me, Linneti, we can't take you to your hostel. Let's take you to any of your friends' hostel or to your parents. You can't sleep there, then tomorrow you do the paper, you'll be able to rest. They took me to my friend. I told them I only need to rest. I'm not going to read anything, I need to rest. So when I reached there, they tried to close the room for me to sleep. I was surprised on waking up, these people telling me that the same person I met at the university came following me up to the hostel, my friend's hostel, that he wanted to talk to me. I switched my phone on. This person now started calling, of course, apologizing for whatever happened, now asking for forgiveness, that we should get back together. I kept my word. I told him it is over. We can only be friends, but it's over between us. Then he told me, Linneti, I think you're just joking. I'm not going to let you go. You're my wife. If it means bring anything, either killing or doing anything, I will do it. But I will not let you go. Like I think you've heard from Matamela times, to me, the red flags, they are more important. I didn't mind about whatever, the way he was saying all these things. So the next, now at night, when he tried to be like a cool person, he started asking me for my plan for the next day. I gave him the plan. I told him I was planning to go early in the morning because I needed to first read, then go for a paper in the evening. The next, the real morning, early in the morning, I think it was around 5:30, he started now calling, asking me, have you left? Have you now prepared yourself? Then I told him, no, I'm preparing myself. I'm planning to leave. Around 6, he gave me the last call. I think that was his 4th call, asking me the same thing, the time I'm leaving. I told him, now I'm on my way. I've already started moving. I'm almost reaching the gate. He said, okay. So when I told him that, I didn't know that he had planned something. Moving outside of the gate, I started hearing people following us. I didn't know whatever was going on. So I tried to create a way for people to pass, but I would not see anyone coming out. I had my colleagues, my friends, for them they were ahead, I was behind. So I tried, of course, to force myself to be in the middle, but things failed. I would find myself behind. Until when at times I think you've ever had a voice telling you to do something. So I had a voice telling you to look behind. I could not see anyone. I moved ahead, the same thing, until when I saw this person carrying his the blue bucket. I didn't mind about the blue bucket. that for me, like, of course, when you're not aware of anything that is going to happen, I was not aware that maybe there was something. So I saw the bucket like this, and immediately I turned to continue to move. Then he poured. So when he poured the content, at first I thought it was urine. Then within like 5 minutes, I saw myself burning. My clothes, all my clothes disappearing. The pain was really too much. I tried to call my friends back. I remember the body became stiff. At a given time reached, the body became stiff. I could not now see what was happening down. I called my friends back. They could not believe I was the one. And when they came back, one of them, Hanifa, she took off. He said, no, that's not Linneti. She took off. Of course, we could not believe that. Of course, I was on the street for like 2 hours looking for help, and no one was there to help. I didn't know the first aid at the beginning, but there's a woman who just came out and she was like, that is acid. You need to pour water on this lady. If at all, if you don't pour water, she will die from here. And remember, it was too early. I remember it was around 6:30. You know, that time people are just busy going for work. The person, one person called me, was like, I think I have something like water maybe in my bucket. Come on, I pour this water on you. He told me to kneel down. I could not do anything. I told him I can't kneel down, but my body is stiff. Just pour the way you can. So when he poured the water, the whole water, he poured water on my head, and my hair caught fire. They all chased me around. They told me, no, just go. We don't want now to be blamed for anything. The pain was much, of course. No one was there to rescue me until I think after like 2 hours. About, of course, all these people would come. They would see the acid flowing there. They would tell me, no, we can't take anywhere. The whole thing is going to burn. Our vehicles will be burnt. Everything will be burnt. But one person just came and was like, I think life is more than anything. Let's go to the hospital. He took me there. When he took me to the hospital, of course, it's a new life you've never been into. I was in hospital for 1 year, had various surgeries, but life in the hospital was very hard. I met various men and women, all of them in their youthful age, who are victims of the same kind of violence, which is gender-based violence. Most of them, either they had separated, others they had issues at home. But all of them, when you try to relate their stories, it's because of relationships. As a person, of course, at first it was not easy for me. And then I realized that I needed to become a voice to the voiceless and maybe change something, change the thinking people have. Many women outside there have been suffering in silence. And of course, you realize that now here in Uganda, the laws are too weak. Personally, the person who burnt me was arrested for just 1 week. Then these people came to the hospital. They told me, can you identify the person? By that time, I was completely blind. I could not see anything. They had even covered the entire face. So they told me, if I told we line up this person, can you identify the person? I could not. Then later on, of course, they started asking me that maybe we sit down and ask for compensation. Of course, you know, any person who intends to kill you or harm you, I think if at all you are the one, you cannot accept anything from such a person because his intentions are completely different from what you think. So I refused. I told them, let's go to court. So I waited for the police to give us a letter to go to police. Nothing happened. Within the 7 days, the person was out and they took him. When he got out, the parents prepared and he went abroad. But of course, when I was in hospital, is when I realized that many women suffer as a result of relationships. And there are many of them who have fallen victims just because at times we see some of these warning signs. For example, personally, this person used to stop me, diverting my calls, tracking me, stopping me to work, which means it was a sign that this was a controlling person. But because I didn't mind about it, I only realized it when it was already too late, when I had already fallen a victim. So to me, as an individual, I've been trying to use my personal experience to change what we think as women and men when it comes to relationships. I've seen many people who have been in abusive relationships and maybe they say the Bible says this. But to me, at times I said, no, if at all you see yourself where you are, you're not happy, the relationship is leading to somewhere else, like to something which is more harmful, quit the relationship. Because I keep on saying that if at all I had known this at a very early stage, maybe I would not have been a victim of this kind of relationship. But because I didn't mind about the red flags, I kept ignoring everything. I'm a victim. So as men and women who are outside there, men and women outside there, I want to inform you that one thing, let's involve our parents in whatever we do. Let's be their friends. Let's share whatever is happening in our lives with them, because these people can guide us. Personally, I was in this kind of relationship, but my parents didn't know that I was even in a relationship until when I became a victim. At times when you share, you can be advised, but when you don't share, you become you suffer in silence. Okay. So we need to as a team, we are here to change the world outside there. We need to empower each and every person to try as much as possible to fight for your right. If at all you see there is something wrong, speak about it. If you see you've tried to talk to this person and nothing is changing, please, I normally say, please quit that kind of relationship. Abusive marriages are not good.
Thank you very much. That is a very humbling testimony. I'm almost lost for words of where to start, because from a very personal perspective, you've shared with us something which is quite intimate in a way, but you've touched on a few things just to finish before we move on. Again, I'm mindful that we are running slightly behind in our schedule, but if you can bear with us, because some of what we're learning here are critical. This word, dangerous word again, love, came back into your discussion, and you talked about lockdown. Obviously, the pandemic has affected all of us in very different ways. It's something which is unprecedented, which we've all been living with. You've kind of already talked about these relationship controls and the red flags. Can you just in 1 minute try and condense your answer to, was the red flags ignored because of your belief that you were in love, or was it because you still had a hope that you had a future? What was the drive, or what was the oversight derived from where you ignored the red flags, as it were?
Okay, thank you so much. For the red flags, like I've told you, at times for us as women, when you see a man is trying to control you, is too jealous, for us we think it is love. Personally, I used to think it was love. This person following you up, trying to check maybe your phone, who is calling, for you think it is love. But the more it goes beyond, like the more this person does it, it becomes now a problem. The person ends up becoming like an obsessed person, whereby this person, if at all you move away within just like 5 minutes, the person will be like, I can't live without you. So this person will try to do anything as long as you try to tell him, I'm quitting this kind of relationship or I'm moving out. So for me, it was jealous all over, because he tried even to beat up people, like beating. I remember my own brother, they tried to beat him thinking he was dating me. I had spies all over, like he would move to the town, these people would call him, we have seen her going to town. But of course, now for us ladies, at times we don't mind about it, that this is not a good sign in a relationship. At times that is like, it's controlling. The person is just controlling you. And at the end of the day, it will lead into something. If at all you don't speak about it, but of course at times for us ladies, we normally say that maybe he will change. Let me give it time, everything will change. Forgetting that at times there are things we cannot change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for touching on that again for us. I think if at all we can take anything from this about the red flags and the way we form our relationships. Obviously, Madame Matamela has already spoken about the types of relationships we are forming now. We live in a global village where relationships can happen in the clouds, online. It can happen with the girl next door. It can happen in all sorts of forms in all of our walks of life. But if we are aware of the red flags you mentioned there control being thought of as love. We should be aware of what love really is. I'm not going to ask us to try and define or redefine what love is. That's another very complex issue that may take another 2 days to try and define. We all know what we feel when we think is love. If I can just thank you again for that, Linneti. And I know that this has given you the inspiration to put together and form Okello Rescue Mission Uganda. And I know with that, as well as being an experience which was very negative at the time, we hope that the positive outcome, which has given you a drive, will also help you to help other people avoid that kind of circumstance and getting into that environment. Before we move on to our next speaker and facilitator, just a few information that's coming so far for the presentation done earlier on by Ms. Matamela. We have here Lamwara. I'm thinking Lamwara is from Uganda. Thank you very much, Sister Matamela. Really, really good presentation that you've given. We have here Zeta. I'm thinking, I don't want to pronounce your first name, Uzogobista. Zeta, probably Southern Africa. Thank you very much. That's a great presentation. You can tell, forgive me for the pronunciation. We have a message here from Oscar Akena. Ms. Matamela, great insight and guidance. And another person here, Nicholas Otto, great presentation and brought out key issues and great insight. So we are having a great response to your presentations already. We can see some insights, response also coming for the Linneti submission, which I'll try and come back to later on as we go along. But to try and just catch up with time, I want to introduce our next facilitator, who I was seeing, Mr. Matokwe. Yes, there is. Matokwe is here with us. Mr. Matokwe introduced himself earlier, as well as being a coach. I'll let him do justice to his credentials, but he is going to take us through the financial management as his key theme. But I wanted to also, again, try and find out from you. You've heard a submission from Ms. Linneti, you've heard Ms. Matamela talk. What are your particular experiences in the what you're doing with the finances when you see relationship between cohabiting partners, relationship of that nature, and finances? Is that something that resonates with you, something you've come across, something you've experienced? Is there something you can share with us before you then move on to talk to us about the interlink between the two key issues that we're discussing here?
Thank you, James. I hope you are hearing me. My network is not that stable, but I hope it will actually take me through.
Loud and clear at the moment. I'll let you know if we cannot hear you. We can hear you right now. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, James. Pertaining the question you've just posed to me, what I can say is that I relate very well with the issues of relationships with money or with finances. In most cases where we have divorces, about 50% of divorces have something to do with finance. So here, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, you'd see that the main reason young girls would get into marriage is that they would want to find somebody to support them financially. So yes, here and there we have cases. We have some, say, issues of gender-based violence. We have police reports. But at the center of this, if it involves the man and the wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, you do actually see that money is not far from such happenings or mishaps, which actually people may come across in life. I think that's what I can say concerning that.
That's very good. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Mr. Matokwe. And I know that you're going to take us through financial management from your experience in Zimbabwe and a long global village that we live in. Please, you have the floor. Let us see what you have to say, and we look forward to your presentation.
Sorry, may you come again?
Sorry, you have the floor. Please take us through your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, James. Thank you for having me. As Matokwe has been highlighted before, I'm a financial education trainer, an accountant, a part-time lecturer with some local university here in Zimbabwe. I have a small company, a small business called Finspire Business Consultants, where we would conduct trainings, mentorships, workshops on financial education or financial literacy awareness. Educational or my qualifications are as follows. I have a diploma in education. I once taught for about 7 years. I have a first degree in accounting, BCom accounting, and I also have a master's in accounting. Then lastly, I have a certificate in financial literacy. So actually that's the brief background. I've actually engaged or have been engaged with a number of small organizations here in Gokwe, especially microfinance institutions, where I train the clients before they borrow funds. I've also been engaged with one local municipality here in Gokwe, where I train here and there on financial literacy. So let me actually move in. Let me actually move into my presentation. Right, I shall be talking on financial management. And see, when we are talking about financial management, or when people hear about financial management, well, we think of something which is actually high up there in the clouds. It's not actually here, down here with us. So I would want to actually try to simplify whatever I'm going to present today, so that at least we have an idea of what we mean when we talk about financial management. So when we are talking about financial management, we actually talk about the management of our finance. So financial management comes from two words there. That's financial and management. So financial, this has to do with money. Then management, now we are talking about manipulating our money, how we relate with our money. But now I would want to run away from the term management. I would want to come down to financial literacy, so that we actually understand what I want to put across. Again, when we look at financial literacy, we are talking about that phrase financial literacy coming from financial and literacy. Breaking it down again, we are saying financial means something to do with money. That's financial. Our English usage of the word literacy, we ask that we are about being able to read and write. So there is this aspect of being able to comprehend. So when we would link the two now, when I say financial, when we say somebody is financially literate, it means you are able to comprehend financial transactions you would come across on a day-to-day basis. I think we are all aware every time we wake up in the morning, you are bound to have some transactions. You may want to go and buy your breakfast, your bread. You may want to actually say go on internet, you use data, money is spent there. Sometimes you receive a gift. What do you do with it? Sometimes you win a lottery. What do you do with it? So we are actually faced with transactions every day. We are supposed to interface with money on a day-to-day basis. So we need, or it is very important that we have an appreciation of financial education, an appreciation of what it means to be financially literate. So I will take you through that today. I will try to simplify that as well. So when you are looking at financial literacy, do you know that about 67% of the world's population is financially illiterate? which would actually mean that about 3.5 billion adults the world over lack basic financial literacy skills. You know, according to a research by Ken and Tan and Munjo, which was conducted in the United States of America in 2018, about a third of young adults live in financially precarious situations. Coming down to Africa, according to a survey which was conducted by S&P Global Financial Literacy, which was conducted in 2020, African countries score very low in terms of financial literacy. So, low financial literacy and low financial literacy skills usually lead to detrimental consequences to an individual, to our future generations, and usually to the financial service industry and to the world economy as a whole. So this is actually a concern that has to be addressed by policymakers, by financial service regulators, and all stakeholders. So Africa, as I highlighted, we are trailing behind as regards financial literacy. You know, in Africa, Botswana ranks high on 52%, followed by South Africa, which is at 42%. And at the bottom of the rankings, according to the S&P Global Financial Literacy Survey, Angola and Somalia stand at 50%. And the percentages mean, the percentage I have highlighted means that that percentage is that percentage of the population which is able to make sound and informed financial decisions. So those statistics, as I see them, is shocking, and something has to be done as regards acquiring basic financial literacy skills. And these basic financial literacy skills, we talk about earning money, we talk about spending money responsibly, saving the money, investing the money, etc. So those are the basic skills. And you don't have to go to universities or colleges to acquire this. This can actually be acquired in a way which is less, with less effort or cost than we may think. You don't need to have a degree, university degree or a diploma to be financially literate. And the unfortunate part of it is that our colleges, our schools, or our curriculum the world over, it lacks financial education or it lacks the teaching of financial literacy skills. So it is actually the onus lies on us to make an effort to acquire the skills. So that's actually the background. Let me now briefly look at what is financial literacy. When we are talking about financial literacy, I am actually going back again. I think I explained earlier on. We are saying you have the basic skills, the knowledge, the right attitude to make sound and informed financial decisions. You have the right knowledge, the right attitude, which is actually needed. We have here and there the attitude coming in place, emotions coming in place to prevent us from making sound financial decisions. So let me proceed now. When we are looking at financial literacy, what does it entail? It entails coming up with financial outcomes. In the very first place, you are in a certain situation, you become financially literate, and we have an outcome at the end of the day. So what we are saying, or what I'm saying, is that topical, or what tops this whole issue of financial literacy is what we call as behavior change. Sometimes you used to be you'd be an impulsive spender, or you lack knowledge, or you don't have the right attitude. Then now when you change your attitude of spending responsibly, when you acquire that knowledge which you need to make sound decisions, and when you acquire those skills, finally, we'd want to see you as somebody who is responsible with their finances. So we move on now. I've actually looked at the center of the issue of financial literacy, that we need to change our behavior from responsible to being responsible. But we can only do that when we have the right skills, the right knowledge, and the right attitude. So allow me to move on. Sorry, it seems I'm going a bit faster, but we cannot talk or we cannot go much into our finances without actually knowing what we are talking about. We need to break down that to what we call money. So we are saying that when you are saying financial, this relates to money. So when you are talking about money now, what is it? Sometimes we don't understand how money works. We don't know its attributes, its behavior, etc. So we need to understand that so that whenever we go about looking for money, you know that I have found this money. This is actually where money is. But you can only do that if you have the requisite skills to be able to identify it and to extract it, then use it responsibly. So money from our actually, say, those who do commerce, say ordinary level, GCE, O level, we say money is something which is accepted as a medium of exchange. We all agree in a certain locality that this which we call money, we can exchange it in exchange for goods. And that place we are saying that's money. So again, we can say it is a unit of account where we are saying now we can communicate value using our money. Again, it's a store of wealth. We store our wealth there. Again, that's the harvest of our production. Whenever we produce something, it's a good, be it a service, that now we can convert it to money, and that becomes a harvest of our production. So money usually would be received after trading products and services. And lastly, on this one, trying to explain what money is, it also acts as a standard of deferred payments. So whenever you borrow something, you need to pay later, we can measure that transaction or that exchange in monetary value so that you can pay the amount which is worth that transaction at a later date. Right, so let me move on to facts about money. Facts about money. Money in itself is about 2,600 years old, especially when you're talking about coins. And at various stages in history, it took various forms. Paper, coins, gold, silver, and at some point it became sold. When the Roman government could not pay soldiers with money, didn't have the money, they had to pay them with salt. It was very important during that time to that economy in that nation. So that's where we derive from salt. That's where we derive salary, S-A-L, from salt. So with salary, we can derive it back to that. So money is as important as the food it buys. And the education it provides, the doctors it pays, etc. Money is important. So in most cases, we get that money is not important, but it is. So money, nothing takes the place of money in the area in which it works. Nothing takes the place of money in the area in which it works. So it's important. Wherever we need money, money should be there, and nothing else, no substitute. You hear people saying money will bring happiness, money and pockets do not bring happiness. But what I can tell you is that this can bring more happiness than that. So we should not mess with poverty. Money is important. So another fact about money, ladies and gentlemen, is that paper money constitutes only 4% of all money we may have digitally in the computers, at the banks, mobile banks. That only 4% is constituted by paper money. Those notes, that fiat money. That is
Okay, I think we are beginning to experience some of the challenges that Ms. Matokwe warned us about. I'm hoping he's going to rejoin us as soon as he can sort out his is connectivity issues. In the meantime, we've heard some very emotional and interesting reaction to the presentation and submission by Ms. Linneti. If I can go through a few of them here. Evelyn here say great presentation with a touching live experience, talking about some of the issues that were touched on. I can see here Gertrude Aloyo, Miss Gertrude Aloyo mentioned it's so sad, Linneti. The guy should have been castrated, but we shouldn't be encouraging castration in such an open manner, just as a matter of touchy point. But I do realize it's a very emotive issue. So it will bring out that kind of reaction. Dave Flew said to Linneti, thank you very much for courageously sharing your story. Again, here we have Zeta talking about, it's so touching, sister. Sad man, we need to change behavior. May God help us all. We have here Mr. Lucio Lama. Thank you, Madam Matamela, again for the presentation. Some more here for Linneti. Very touching and sad, educative. Thank you very much, sister. Some people are just saying thank you, Ms. Linneti, for sharing your story. Very sad. I can see here, Juma, Ms. Linneti, praise be to God for he saved you because he has a purpose in life for you in the world. Touching story, educative. God loves you and loves you too. And you, thank you for using your experience to touch all of our lives. I can see loads of feedback still coming up for the submission by Linneti, which I will still try to get through as much as possible as we go through the day. We only have half an hour or so to go, but I'll try and get through as many as possible. I can see, I think we have our presenter back, and then I think it's disappeared again. So we'll continue to wait for him to reconnect. Can I just, as we wait for him to come back, start asking you to think about questions that you may want to ask in the question and answer session. If you do have any questions, any areas that you want us to elaborate on, if you can put your hand up and I'll go through when we get to the question and answer session and pick as many people to ask the question live so you can share the information that you want to share with us or any questions that you want to share with us. I can see here, Mr. Chaya said, we need more education. Sorry, Mr. Chaya, suggesting we need better education for men. I think being all of us to understand the pressures that we may put on women and the kind of relationships that we form. I can see Mr. Matokwe is now back. I'm hoping you can hear me and your connectivity is come back for us. Are you there with us? No, it's disappeared again. So we'll persevere. We have here Brian saying thank you very much for the presentation. Again, we have several people who are expressing gratitude for the sharing of Ms. Linneti's story. Oscar Kana, Ms. Linneti, everything moving reality experience, very moving reality experience. God bless you and your outreach, and we are happy to have you as a partner on board. Again, many touching submissions coming in. Olama here, Lucy Olama, again, I think I've talked about him. It's a good presentation. I think we have Mr. Matokwe back with us. Again, we'll try again one more time. I know the challenges of connectivity. As I said, we live in a global village, so we'll try and persevere. Are you with us? Are you connected again? Are you able to continue with the presentation?
Yes, I'm connected, although in low bandwidth, but I hope this will take me through, because actually that's actually where I was when I was presenting.
Okay, fantastic. Go on. Carry on. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. I was on facts about money, so I'm continuing with them. The next point I want to say about money is that money follows executed ideas. If you have a great idea, if you don't execute it, nothing usually happens. But you have a great idea and you execute it, you attract money to you, or you attract money to yourself. So someone once said that the one with an idea is not the one who thinks about it, but the one who runs with it. So when you have a great idea, execute it. What idea do you have? Maybe to make people happy. Maybe you have an idea to entertain people. Are you a comedian? Go ahead, make people happy. Maybe you'd want people, say, to wear fancy clothes, or maybe this is summer, you want to design, say, clothing which is actually conducive for the summer season. Go ahead with that idea, execute it, and money will come your way. Another issue is that money should circulate or flow. Money, or a currency of a country, comes, say, from the word currency. And currency, now say when we are saying currency, we are talking about something which we are saying should move. A current moves from point A to point B. So money should circulate. Don't stay with your money under your pillow, under a rock. Your money should move into somebody's pocket. But now, when you do that, if money becomes stagnant, it risks dying. If anything stays stagnant, be it water or whatever it is, it loses its life. So does money. So if you keep $10 under your pillow, it will buy less, even the strongest of currencies, say the pound, the British pound, the United States dollar. If you keep it under your pillow, it will buy less at the end of the year than it was able to buy in the beginning of the year. So it should move. You should have cash inflow and cash outflow. Cash coming into your wallet and cash going out of your wallet. But make sure you have more of it coming than that which is leaving. So money should circulate, money should flow. The next point is money takes the character of the one in its possession. Money takes the character of the one in its possession. If you are disciplined, your money becomes disciplined. If you are foolish, your money also becomes foolish. There's this statement which says a fool and his money will soon be parted. So usually now we are saying, if you are wise, your money usually would actually take your character. If you are say a commercial sex worker, we would say maybe that is dirty money. You are say involved in illegal dealings. Money with those people takes their character and would believe it's dirty. But if it comes into somebody who is hardworking, who is doing legitimate business, it's clean money. So irrespective of the hands it passes through, every it settles, it takes the character of the person. So let me move again. Another point is that money magnifies the character of the one who has it. Money magnifies the character of the one who has it. Firstly, it takes that character. But secondly, it magnifies it. Suppose you are arrogant. You don't all of a sudden wake up being arrogant. But it's because you have money. But what would have happened is that you were arrogant before. But the money now comes in as a litmus test. It's showing your real character. Maybe you are in a queue. Maybe the teller in that shop is actually serving you slowly. You say, does this person know who I am? Do they know? You see, all those statements come because we feel we have money. But it is revealing our actual character, that we are rude, we are arrogant, we don't respect other people. But we have it. We could not show such. Why? We let the money to aid us or help us to show it. Another issue is money is attracted to value. If you have value or if you are valued, money will come to you. But how then can we determine your value? We determine your value by your importance to your community, the products, the services you provide to your locality, to your nation, to your village, to your city. That actually would show your value. And in most cases, to get your value, we are saying you need to have knowledge about your area of specialty. You need the requisite skills. Then you show that will serve your community. Then when you have that value, money will come to you. But it's not that you are valuable and you sit down and do nothing. You have to show that you have that value. And lastly, I want to say, if money is your problem, then money cannot be the solution. Let me repeat. If money is your problem, then money cannot be the solution. You know, what that simply means is that if you don't have money today, or if you have money problems, they will not appear because you've received some money. You want $10 today, somebody gives you the $10. That doesn't mean that your money problems have vanished. Tomorrow you still need that money. So money, if money is your problem, then money cannot be the solution. What is the solution? Create a way of earning more money. Create a system so that you'll be able to receive money. So that is what we are. I think we've heard of lottery winners, people who won lotteries, who within 6 months squandered all that money. And after in the 7th month, they no longer have the money. Where did it go? They yearned for that money. They have it, they squandered it, they misused it. So giving you money when you have money problems is not the solution, but providing you with means to get money. Let me move on. Let me move on. So let me quickly look at the ways of earning money. How do we earn money? How do we earn money? The first thing is to get a job. You exchange your skill, your time for money. And usually you are paid in proportion to your perceived value. Your employer, what's the perceived value? What value does the employer place or see in you? That's how they would pay you. So your salary again would depend on your qualifications, how well you can do the job, and how it is difficult to replace you. That's actually how you earn your salary. Have you ever wondered, why am I getting this amount? Your employer will look at that. Are you qualified to do the job? Are you good enough at the job? Again, how difficult is it to replace you? So that's the first thing. But now if you want to be financially independent, forget about getting a job. What? You know, it takes somebody who earns $20 per hour about 24 years to be a millionaire, excluding taxes and any other expenditures you can think about. The next way of earning money is to marry or marry it. Get a spouse who has finances, who has a steady income. That's another way. But in most cases, we wouldn't encourage that unless you are fortunate enough, because it's very difficult to find somebody who has the means when you don't have. The next thing is you can inherit money. When you inherit money, you say you are born in a rich family. Maybe you inherit it from rich uncles and rich aunties. But how many among us are fortunate enough to inherit? So this will take me to the next one, build a business. By building a business, what am I saying? You set up a system to work for you through what we call entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is very broad. We cannot talk about it in just a few minutes, but we are saying you are providing solutions to the market and you get paid for it and you build a business surrounding that or around that problem you're solving. So that's another way. And lastly, you can invest. When you invest, what are we saying? You are allocating your money somewhere in expectation or in anticipation of earning income or a profit. So you can invest in various ways. You can invest, when we talk of investments, people think of only shares. That's not only the way you can invest. So you can invest by starting a small business, maybe acquiring assets, purchasing real estate, selling later at a higher price, etc. So this, in brief, these are the ways in which we can earn money. Let me move on to the next. This brings me to what we call personal financial management. I talked about money now. I think we have an idea, or we had this. I was just actually reminding you of what you knew. But when you're talking about personal financial management, you are now at a personal level able to manipulate or to make sound financial decisions, sound and informed finance at a personal level. without somebody else. So we are saying you are able to balance your income with your expenses. You are now able to face your financial pressures, be it daily upkeep, be it food, rentals, education, etc. So this also involves being able to track your income as well as your expenditure. So we are doing this at a personal level. And again, it now calls one to be able to understand what we call by needs and wants. And if you understand that when we have needs, we cannot do without certain things. When we talk of wants, that's luxury. But needs and wants can vary from person to person and from society to society. But now what we mean is we should be able at a personal level to make sound and informed financial decisions. So that's the center stage of financial literacy or financial education. I know I'm going a bit fast.
Yes, I appreciate you're going a bit fast. I'm also very mindful of the time. So I wanted to try and bring us to a close by trying perhaps to maybe guide us a little bit to go back to the issues which may be ones that we want to learn the most about. I, for one, can openly submit that I'm very good at moving money from my pocket to somebody else's money, somebody else's pocket, as you mentioned before, because money is a currency and should move, and therefore I'm always poor. Can you tell us a bit? You talked about attitude and knowledge. I'm very interested to understand what you mean there. If you can very quickly, in a minute or so, just go over the attitude and the knowledge that will make us be financially literate, because I think that brings it home to a personal level, if you may, please.
Right. First, let me look at attitude. When we are talking about attitude, what is it that you feel when you hear about money? What are your perceptions about money? Matthew Ashmalow, in one of his presentations at the International Gathering of Champions, once said that the only thing he knew about money was that money was meant to be spent. So that was his attitude towards money. Some, when they get money, they are very quick to spend it. Some feel that money is bad or money is evil. So, well, I cannot actually explain that into greater detail due to our time. But when you feel that money is evil or is bad, but you feel that you are good. So money, which is evil, and you, who is good, can never mix. Bad and evil will never mix. No matter how much you try to hunt down money, to never come to you, as long as you have that perception that money is bad or is evil. Sometimes we look at people in society who are well up, who are rich, and every time we look at them or we see them, we blame them for our financial illiteracy or for our financial situations in which we are in. You see, these people, you think, well, maybe they use certain spirits to get money. These people, they are thieves. These people, they oppress us. As long as we have this attitude, we actually cannot actually amass much to ourselves because we hate those who have it. So now looking at the knowledge now aspect, we get knowledge. Maybe if you'd allow me to go through quickly, I would fill in the gaps or the links, the gaps which I would have left concerning that aspect. So if I may proceed, come to the end, then I would actually fill in, if that is okay with you, James.
That's absolutely fine. Go on.
It's okay. Thank you. So let me now move on to, we are looking at tertiary students. And when we are looking at tertiary students, we are saying when students get into campus, they are going to make financial decisions on a day-to-day basis. They're supposed to actually safeguard the little resources which they would have brought to campus. But now, with the financial illiteracy I talked about, it will be very difficult, especially for the African student. So knowing how to manage money is very vital to the college experience. And you know now, if you know nothing about management now, you'll be actually in problems. All right, so let's look at the financial tips which I may prescribe to college students. This is actually not in hard to say black and white, this and that, or engraved in concrete, but these actual suggestions I'm actually putting across. The first thing is that educate yourself on personal finances. So if you lack personal financial knowledge, how you can invest your money, how can you spend it responsibly, how can you save it, it's very difficult, or in fact, anything surrounding the issue of money to you will be a nightmare. So the lack of
very, very unfortunate there. I think we're again having problems with connectivity. While I go through some of the comments coming in for all of the presenters and submissions so far, if I can encourage you, all of the audience, all of the people who are with us here, including our contributors, if you have any questions, if you can put your hand up in your profile, then I can pick you out to ask the question you have to any of our facilitators. It doesn't have to be the last speaker. It can be anybody else who has spoken today. I haven't seen any hands up yet, but if as a conclusion, I may just bring our presenter, Matokwe, back by saying something which I think is really caught my attention. And I want you to finish off, if you can, because time is against us, unfortunately, is this. If money is your problem, then money cannot be the solution. Now, this to me is very interesting. I mean, we all have issues with money. We all have, coming from Africa, we have not just the 2.4 children you may have in the UK. We actually have maybe 37.4 children in that you need to care for. We have elderly parents, we have uncles, aunties who are also tricky, all sorts of financial strains that pulls you on all sides of the family. From your perspective, money is your problem, money is not a solution. If you can just finish with that and just elaborate on it for us, so we can get a flavor from your experience.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that if money is your problem, then money cannot be the solution. But I am simply saying, if you want money badly, if you really want money badly, giving you the money will not solve your money problems. You want $10 today, somebody gives you, that's not the end of your money problems. Like I highlighted earlier on that, suppose when we talk of, say, somebody who wins the lottery, when that person wins the lottery, maybe he had money problems, but when he got the money, he squanders it or he uses it. At the end of that, he still needs more and more money. Are you aware that suppose in a locality, we share the resources we have, monetary resources, that is money, if we share that equitably amongst ourselves, in less than 6 months, everybody would have the same amount of money they had before sharing that, or before sharing those resources. So that what would have happened? If you have value, you attract back your money. If you don't have value, you lose it all. Maybe that behavior of spending, you lose it all. And at the end of 6 months, we are saying everybody goes back to square zero. So the solution to your money problems now is to enable you to be able to earn more money. The solution to your money problem is to create a system where you can earn money, either active income or passive income. The solution to your problem is being able to have the right attitudes, the right perception about money, the knowledge to be able to say, save your money, manage it well, spend it well. That is actually what solves your money problems. Just giving you money without addressing this will not solve your money problems. So money won't be the solution to your money problems. So what is that you should do now? Educate yourself on money. Read books on financial education, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Acres of Diamond, Napoleon's Hill book. The name has actually gone out of my mind. Think and Grow Rich. Read that literature. Have those magazines. Look for a coach who can coach you. Look for a trainer who can train you. The course can take you, say, a week with maybe less, with limited resources, and you are able to do this. You don't need to have a fancy degree, a diploma, or whatever it is. So don't rely on financial planners who are selling products to you. Be able to manage your own resources from a personal point of view. I think that's actually what I can say.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Very, very interesting. Loads of takeaway from that, which I got. I, for one, would like to very much support the idea of adding value both to yourself, but also to your mind, your education, your capacity. And this capacity goes to what you say, to be able to earn money, get a job, get a salary. That's where you realize that you have money to spend. And the ways you can get money is not just to constantly be looking for a job. If there's no job in the marketplace, you can create your own job by becoming an entrepreneur, starting some kind of business. It's interesting you should say that, because especially in Uganda, I don't know if this experience resonates with you in Zimbabwe. Pretty much every person is an entrepreneur in Uganda. Even people who are working for, and especially people who are working for government offices, you will find that the government office is actually a second job. Their first job is their business. So is that something which you find common even in Zimbabwe, across Africa, where you've been able to work, or is that something unique to Uganda, and it is part of our DNA to be born entrepreneurs, if we still have you, Mr. Matokwe? I think we've lost Mr. Matokwe, so I'll just go through some of the comments which are coming in, and we see if we can get him back. We are now officially in the question and answer session of today's meeting. So if anybody who has any questions want to put it through, we'll be happy to put it through to any of our facilitators. In the meantime, we have Ajelejo, who said again of Linnet's submission, very touching and educative story. Thank you, sister, for sharing. We have Mr. Myers, I believe. Thank you very much, Ms. Linneti. A lot of gratitude being shown to the presentations you made. We have a whole load more which I need to go through. But in the meantime, I'm hoping that since we are not getting, I've got one question which has come up. I'm trying to see who it is. If you can unmute and just ask your question, Nicholas Koto, I've got you. And then we'll go back to my question to Mr. Matokwe, who I can see has come back. Koto, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, James. I just want to thank Matamela from South Africa. From Matamela's contribution, she says, we very well know that GBV, or gender-based violence, is very common in relationships. And in most cases, relationships go on and on without those in relationship knowing that there's actually gender-based violence taking place. In Uganda, especially among certain communities, it's only realized when the fight or the GBV in relationship leads to either hospitalization or even death. It's like a culturally acceptable practice where it's not the survivor is not allowed to report any incidences of GBV in their relationship. Whereby if you report, you are looked at as a weak person, you shouldn't be reporting such. So it gets to be known only when it's so serious.
Okay, I don't know whether
that the police has to be involved. The person has died.
Okay. Nicholas, do you have...
Hello, James.
Are you just making a comment and submission, or do you have a question for Ms. Matamela? Nicholas,
No. I'm coming, James.
Okay.
Yes, James. I just want to know from Matamela, how is the situation in their context in South Africa? Of course. Yes, James.
Yes, we can hear you. Go
yes,
on. We can hear the question.
I wanted to know from Matamela, how is the situation in their context in South Africa and elsewhere where probably she has done research or she has traveled to? Is the situation similar to this in...
Madam Matamela,
is the situation similar in their context in South Africa? Is it?
Yes, I've got you. Thank you very much for that, Nicholas. A great question to Ms. Matamela. I'm just checking to see she's still with us. I can see.
I'm here, James.
I can see she's just joined us. Ms. Matamela, the question from Nicholas is: in Uganda, the issues of gender-based violence can go on unreported, undetected, culturally frowned upon until there's either a severe case of hospitalization or even death. Is that something that's similar within the Southern African context and also in your research and travel? Is that something you've come across which is similar culturally?
Thank you so much, James. I'm going to, my battery is very, very low. It's going to cut anytime soon. So in South Africa,
do the best.
So in South Africa, we do experience the same thing where we find that actually the person has to be severely injured in order for anyone to get involved. That's all I can say for now because it's shutting down. I'm sorry about that. There's load shedding.
Okay, not to worry. Thank you very much. So for Nicholas' perspective, Madam Matamela concurs with the experience that you have in Uganda. Locally in South Africa is a very similar situation, and this may suggest, as indeed is the case, even here in the UK, gender violence can go on undetected. And in fact, because of the pandemic that we've had and the lockdown, there was a severe increase in domestic violence, which is led in a lot of divorce cases as a result of the pandemic. If we have any more questions coming up, please do so. We've actually now finished the time we had for the conference officially. If we don't, then I will invite our convener to come on board and officially close the I can see we have a question from Vincent Nyero. Vincent, if you can unmute and please, you have the floor.
Good evening, Charles, and thank you, Matamela, Matokwe. Mine is not actually a question, but I just wanted to mention a few things, which would take me like about 4 minutes, if I'm allowed, anyway.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself first, what the experience is, and now you come across?
I'm called Vincent Nyero. I am an economist, educationist, and a social worker. And currently, I'm also volunteering with Light Empowerment. I just wanted to mention a few things to the youth. Looking at the age of the youth, some are at school, but can also be working. Some at school and they are married. Some are at school and they're still students. Now, I just wanted to add on, if we are managing relationships, there are other relationships that maybe we need to look at, like our families. How do you relate with your parents, brothers, sisters, and other extended relatives? Then we come to the friends around us. How do you manage friendships, relationship with friends? Then we come to the acquaintances, like our neighbors. How do we manage that kind of relationship? And then we come to Matamela has already talked in detail about the romantic relationships. And then we come to professionalism, like a relationship at the workplace. How do you manage? In all this, I just wanted to summarize by saying, in all these relationships, one, look at compatibility. For example, if you are going to become someone's friend, are you compatible before you move on and create a lot of leakages? You have heard what Linneti said. Then secondly, type of communication is very important in a relationship. How do you communicate with your friends, your relatives, your neighbors? All those are kinds of people you're related with. Then another thing, in a relationship, try to be honest so that it can grow. Then stay calm in every situation. Never lose anger anyhowly, never create fight, never be calm in your relationship. And then another thing is, like, you should always learn to be forgiving in any kind of relationship, whether it's family, whether it's girlfriend, something, whether it's professional, whether it is just friendship, friends around you. Learn to be forgiving. Learn to smile with others. You know, a person who has been sad the whole day may gain something good out of you as a young man. Smile to your friends. That is kind of how we keep relationships. And then another thing is that give time to a relationship. Give your time. You can never expect to be a good friend when you can never give time to others. And then be trustworthy in everything you do. It can be a business partner. It can be a colleague at a place of work. It can be your girlfriend, boyfriend. It can be just a family. Be trusted and be loyal. Those are some of the few things I just wanted to add on. Thank you so much, moderator.
Thank you very much, Nyero, for that submission. We really do appreciate that. But I wanted to just to bring this to a close and invite our organizer, Anne, to come on board and close the conference officially. We've talked a lot about relationship. We've talked a lot about finances. We've talked a lot about how we value ourselves and the kind of situations and red flags in personal relationships and so on. We are looking at a questionnaire very, very pertinent to what we do at Dilabon Business Consulting, which you can access at dilabon.co. How do young people transfer or convert their education and knowledge into money? And the suggestion here is through formal employment. Now, as someone who works in the development and growth of individuals and organizations, I can say this to you. Mr. Matokwe touched on it there about educating yourself. Learn. And I want you to share, Mr. Matokwe, some of the books. I know Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was written by, I think, Jack Ma or someone like that from one of the Chinese founders. If you can share that with us. But what I would say is this: education is key. Bettering yourself is key. Training is key. If you can find a situation where you're constantly learning, constantly improving your value, the value you can add to a company, the value you can add to your relationships, the value you can add to your communities, this is how you become a better person, a better individual, and you will find that the knowledge and education that you've had can start to make money for you, because the value that you take to a company is what the company wants to pay you for. I think Matokwe put it well. If the company is paying you a certain amount of money, that is what you're worth. So you must make what you're worth it, in the sense that you make sure you learn everything you can, so you are invaluable to a company. They cannot get rid of you. You're irreplaceable. You are the person they go to when they need to solve a problem. Become a problem solver, become a very, very proactive person. Always go to your directors, your managers, the business owners with solutions as opposed to problems. My director, who I schooled myself under, used to say to me, James, make sure if you come into my office, if you think you have a problem, the solution should already be there in the back of your mind. So don't bring me the problem. Bring me the solution. Come and tell me you already have a solution. You're just informing me that there was a problem, but I'm about to solve it. That's how you become invaluable to a company. That's how a company starts to see that this is the kind of person who should be in our organization. We do a lot of training for individuals to be able to access better CV presentation, how you can present yourself, public speaking, all sorts of trainings. We'll make that all available through and for you guys to access. There's a lot more questions and appreciations coming in to this particular presentation with Mr. Matokwe. They love the issue of the money and problem, which I think I highlighted to you as well. That was a very good quote, which I think is resonating with people. If money is your problem and it's not going to be the solution, that seems to have touched a nerve with people. And people are asking to kindly share your presentation with them. We have here from Emma, who's asked if you can share your presentation. I think we're going to share the presentation with everyone, so you can rest assured, as well as other materials that we'll share with you. The presentations will also be available for your information. So without further ado, since time is now very much against us, I'd like to thank all of you, especially our facilitators, for sharing their knowledge, their experiences from different walks of life, the knowledge that they've been able to gain to participate in this, what is hoped to be the first in a series of events that we'll be able to hold, that will allow us to both share key information of this nature, but also be able to connect and network with each other. If times allows, after Anne does the official summarizing and closing of this e-conference, then we can still do some networking. But if I may now invite Anne to take over. Anne, you have the floor. Thank you very much for coming back to us. I know you've been quiet for a very long time. I hope you were able to learn something that kept you entertained, but also some of the touching submissions that you were able to resonate with.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you, everyone. My name is Anne Kazungu-Okwera. I'm a co-founder of Light Empowerment Foundation, a director for programs and people and culture. At the same time, I have a human resources background. I've worked with NGOs like BRAC International, Oxfam. At the moment, I'm also a volunteer for British Red Cross. I have a consultancy firm as well, and working with several people across, Africa. Yeah, so that is about myself. But most of all, I'd like to really thank everyone who has participated in organizing this event, particularly our partners, Light Empowerment Foundation partners. I want to take time to say thank you to you for being part of this event. The participants that have taken time off to be part of this day, we know you could have had several things that you might have wanted to do, but you spared a few minutes to come and be part of this, and I hope you've learned something. The reason we came up with this event is we realized, of course, like many of you, that our youth today are facing so many challenges. Most of the participants have talked about it, but we think that these challenges can as well be harnessed into opportunities by the youth, because youth today have so much access to information, unlike maybe 20 or 30 years ago. You have internet, you have the opportunities like this, webinars, where you can just log in and tap, learn knowledge. There's no end to learning. There's no end to knowledge. So take advantage of all these. Be available to mentoring and coaching by the community where you come from, by your teachers, by your lecturers, by your parents, the father figures and the mother figures in your lives. And we are also asking more mother figures and father figures to come forward and mentor the youth out there, especially those from vulnerable backgrounds, youth who come from fatherless or motherless backgrounds. Take nurture somebody out there. You did mention that what are the learnings? Of course, I've picked a lot today, but mainly I want to share with the youth that as much as you get a lot of information, you have to put it in practice. You have to start somewhere, start a project, start a business, however small it is. Let it fail, but start. Don't wait until you have everything, so you have to start somewhere. Okay, you might say, I don't have money to start a business. Volunteer somewhere. Volunteer with your church. Volunteer with the local council. Do something for your community where you come from. Volunteer or intern somewhere, and that's how you gain experience. So you may not gain experience sitting at home, but if you go out there, I've told you I'm volunteering with the British Red Cross. I volunteered with Age UK, where I was working in a retail store, just welcoming customers coming at the door and saying, you're welcome, thank you, and that was it. But that formed a very valuable experience that I can put on my CV, and other employers who want people like me will get to see that. So that's how you build your experience, that's how you build your networks, and network as much as you can. Go out, meet people. We thought we would spend more time and talk about how you need to be aware that there's a lot of also fake opportunities and people out there because of the internet world, but you need to do more research. Do a bit of your research as well before you go in any relationship, before you go in any business. Get enough information before you go there to avoid being conned because of the social media. Right now you can see us, so Light Empowerment exists because you can see the founders behind it. But you'll see a lot of people out there saying they're recruiting and they're fundraising, but you can't see them and you don't know where they're coming from. So issues of trust, issues of values, each of us have our values. So your value system plays a lot in how successful you are. Even if you start a business, but people cannot trust you. As a youth, you have a lot of skills that you can nurture. You can do graphic designing. Imagine this era of COVID, when every business had to go online, and every one of us was looking for graphic designers to design our social media flyers, and we can't find these people. We are looking for people to write our stories. We can't find them, but we have youth who are qualified, who have degrees in all this, and they cannot put that degree into practice. I remember some young lady shared with me her CV. I was looking for someone to help me edit a book that I wrote. The book is called A Girl from Urusi, My Journey from to the corporate ladder. It's gonna be launched soon. Look out for it. So I was looking for someone to help me edit it, and a young lady sent me her CV. I looked at the CV and I advised her, I said, by the way, start from here. Start by prepping up your CV a little bit more. I gave her some other CV to look at. And then I gave her an audio. I said, listen to this video. Can you write a short story on this? And she didn't know where to start from, but she had a degree in mass communication. You see, so that's what we're saying, that yes, you have that background, you have the knowledge, but how do you actually go out there and use it? Yeah, so those are some of the things. As the Light Empowerment, we are ready to partner with as many people to empower the youth through such programs and many more after this. So we hope that we'll scale this event up, make it maybe annual, make it bigger, touch on more topics. We couldn't finish everything in today's session. I'm sure there are so many questions that people want to ask, and many things that want to be captured, but we couldn't do it all today.
I'd hope so as well, and that more questions would have been forthcoming. But I think just before we close off, I noticed that our colleague Lazarus had his hand up a little bit earlier on. Maybe his question came to mind, and he wants to share some inspiration with us. That's most welcome, Mr. Lazarus. Unless I was wrong, then you can tell me I'm wrong, and I'll move on swiftly. But if you wanted to share something, please do so before. I think now that we've gone over time, in true African fashion, we may as well absolutely bless the time when people are still here before we say goodbye and good night to everybody. Mr. Lazarus? I think he's lost his voice. Until he comes back, and if you want to carry on with what you were saying, if Lazarus joins us again, then we will be sure to add that on. We've had a lot of feedback on the presentation and submission by Madame Linneti. Thank you very much again for sharing that. We have here Sabiri. I think Anne is gone off as well temporarily. Thank you very much, Anne, and everybody else for all the work that you've done, for participating, for turning up, and so on and so forth. I think that we can share that later on in forum. Anne, are you still with us? Yes, you're back. Okay,
yeah.
Go on. You have the floor.
Yeah. So I'm really summarizing by just thanking everybody, and I wanted to especially thank the Light Empowerment Foundation partners, Smart Youth Network Initiative, for working with us on this program to make it come to life. Mulanje Boma Youth from Malawi, Center for Civil Society Zimbabwe, Rural Approach for Community Development Uganda, Unlimited Inspiration International. I think you've seen a lot of ads from them. Thank you very much. And special mentions to James Olwenyi of De La Bonne for the great work he's done today moderating this session. I think you agree with me that he's done a wonderful job. Matamela Makongoza, thank you for sharing your PhD experience with us. She's from the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. Coach T. Matokwe of Inspire Africa, thank you very much. Lazarus Okello from Unlimited Inspiration International, thank you for sharing your thoughtful inspirations. Linneti Kirungi, whose story has inspired so many. I think she's told me her story before, but when she told it today again, I was almost crying again, you know. And I'm sure many of you felt the same, but Linneti has used her experience to change lives. She's supporting so many women and men who are also affected by acid violence in Uganda, to empower them with livelihood skills, but also to raise awareness about the issue of acid violence and to advocate for better laws and practices that favor, that do away with acid violence. So we've been partnering with her on a number of projects, and we hope we'll continue to partner with her. Thank you very much, Linneti, for accepting to be part of the speakership today. All the directors, staff, and volunteers and well-wishers of Light Empowerment Foundation, thank you very much. All the best. God bless you. And I think, James, you should share the contact and email addresses for those who want to stay networked, especially the people who want to be mentored, who want to be coached after this session.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, I completely second that. For all of those of you who have participated in today's conference, please do send in your contact details. I still want to, before we finish, I keep seeing in coming in and out. I think maybe it's left. Mr. Lazarus.
Yes.
We still have some people here who are still gathered. Linneti has just come back. I don't know whether you heard all of the comments that have been made about the submissions you made. You've touched a lot of people in very personal ways. But I wanted to give maybe a last word to Mr. Lazarus to inspire us once more before we all go our separate ways. Because I think some of what you talk about is real life effect, and we're all living it. And it's things that we have to apply. You mentioned earlier on that we need to apply all of the learnings. We've learned a lot today. What is the final thought from you, if you can condense that into a couple of minutes? Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks a lot, James. Now, the most important thing is everyone should apply whatever they have learned today. Knowledge is only useful when applied. So we must apply whatever we have learned. And I want you to remember these 5 questions that I asked. The first one is, what do you want in life? And the second one, where are you in life? The third one, where are you going? And the fourth one, what is your altitude? And finally, what is your why? If you don't know your why, you will fall for anything and you will never be successful. Thank you very much.
Yes. Who is this? Paul Bwenje?
Yo, guy.
Hello? No, I think it's just a background noise. If nobody else has got anything to say, there are no any questions, I think we can gratefully say we've come to the end of the conference. Please, if anybody wants to get in contact, whether it's with me, Mr. Lazarus, Matokwe, Linneti, Matamela, please send your request through Light Empowerment Foundation or directly to us on WhatsApp. We'll appreciate being in touch with you and continuing to network and to communicate. I want to thank all of our facilitators, especially those that I've mentioned, but also without you, our audience, really, there would have been no need to have this webinar at all. So we appreciate all the time that you've put in today. We appreciate your participation. We hope you have learned something that you can put into practice, like Mr. Lazarus just said. And thank you very much for all of your participation. Please, wherever you're traveling, go well, stay blessed, and stay safe. Thank you very much for your time.